Right now, a 33-year-old man is sitting alone in his house. He is not jobless. He is not ill. He has a degree and his health. Yet he has not stepped outside in 3 days, except to collect food from a delivery guy. And he is not alone. There are many men just like him, and their numbers are rising faster than most people are willing to acknowledge. What we're witnessing is the largest voluntary withdrawal of young men from society ever recorded. They are not dead. They are not in jail. They haven't failed in any obvious way. They've simply disengaged, retreating into digital worlds while life continues without them. What makes this frightening is that most people don't even realize it's happening. In Japan, this phenomenon already has a name, hikikomori, over 1 million men under 40 who have completely removed themselves from social life. But this pattern is no longer confined to Japan. South Korea is seeing the same trend. Italy is reporting sharp increases. In the United States, men aged 18 to 34 now spend more time alone than any generation before them, over 3 extra hours per day compared to just 15 years ago. It's easy to dismiss this as laziness or video game addiction. That's the story headlines like to tell. But the reality runs far deeper, and understanding it may be one of the most important insights of our time. This withdrawal isn't accidental. It's adaptive. And the psychology behind it reveals something fundamental about human motivation. Behavioral science describes something called the effort-reward ratio. Your brain constantly evaluates whether the energy you invest in something is worth the return. When effort dramatically outweighs reward, the brain doesn't push harder. It shuts down the effort altogether. This is happening to men on a civilizational scale right now. Consider the numbers. A 24-year-old man today needs about 30% more income than his father did at the same age to reach the same standard of living. Housing costs have soared to nearly 3 times what wages have grown. The average age of first-time homeownership has climbed from 28 in the 1980s to 39 today. Dating tells a similar story. On dating apps, the top 11% of men receive more than half of all matches. The bottom half collectively gets less than 6%. Your brain sees this. It runs the calculation. And for millions of men, the conclusion is simple: why try? This is a critical distinction. These men aren't incapable of participating in society. They've decided that participation no longer pays off. And that changes everything about how the problem must be addressed. What happens next is mostly invisible. Men who withdraw don't vanish, they relocate. And where they're going should worry everyone, regardless of political or cultural views. Digital environments now offer nearly all the psychological rewards that once required real-world achievement. Status, progress, identity, belonging, even purpose, these can now be accessed from a screen. Games have evolved into full economies. Online communities replace social circles. AI companions provide a connection without rejection. One 27-year-old man, Donald, explained it this way: "In my game, I lead a guild of 350 people. I plan strategies. I solve problems. People rely on me. Then I log off and remember I'm a barista who can't afford his own place." Which world feels more real? That question should be unsettling, because for millions of men, the answer isn't the physical world. This disengagement follows clear patterns. Men without college degrees are withdrawing at triple the rate of graduates. Men in regions with collapsing industries disappear twice as fast as those in growing economies. Men raised without fathers are checking out at rates that are almost unbearable to confront. This is not about laziness. It isn't about toxic masculinity. It's about the loss of hope. Psychologists call this learned helplessness. When an animal is repeatedly exposed to harm it can't predict or avoid, it eventually stops trying, even when escape becomes possible. It learns that effort doesn't matter. We've recreated that condition in human form, a generation of men who've learned that work no longer leads to stability, effort no longer leads to progress, and participation no longer leads to dignity. The data confirms it. Labor force participation among prime-age men has fallen to 88%, down from 99% in 1960. Male college enrollment has dropped from 57% in 1970 to about 37% today. Male suicide rates are now 4 times higher than women's, and still rising. These figures aren't random. They all point to the same underlying issue: widespread demoralization. The danger isn't limited to individual suffering. History shows what happens when large numbers of young men believe they have no future. Every major period of instability, from the French Revolution to the rise of fascism to the Arab Spring, was fueled by men with no stake in society, no families to protect, and nothing to lose. We like to think modern societies are immune. But human psychology hasn't changed. Men without purpose don't simply disappear. They either collapse inward or lash outward. And we're seeing both. The inward collapse looks like addiction, depression, and suicide. Deaths of despair among men under 44 have risen by about 380% since 2000. The outward explosion appears as extremism, violence, and radicalization. Nearly every domestic terrorist in the US over the past decade shares the same profile: young, male, socially isolated, and deeply immersed in online spaces. This isn't just a collection of personal crises. It's the psychological groundwork that historically precedes societal breakdown. What makes it worse is how society has responded. Struggling men are often ignored, mocked, or dismissed. Male vulnerability is treated as a joke. And that reaction creates exactly the bitterness people claim to fear. When someone is told their pain doesn't matter, they search for someone who says it does. Right now, the loudest voices acknowledging male suffering are often extremists and opportunists, people exploiting real pain for destructive ends. That's the true emergency. Not that men are struggling, but that the only people listening are leading them toward ruin. Withdrawal also feeds on itself. When a man disengages, it doesn't stop in one area of life, it triggers a chain reaction. Leaving the workforce doesn't just mean losing income. It means losing routine, social contact, identity, and the daily proof that effort produces results. Without work, dating becomes nearly impossible, not out of cruelty, but practicality. A man without direction represents uncertainty and risk, not partnership. Without work or romance, community fades. Invitations go unanswered. Shame keeps people isolated. Social circles shrink into anonymous online spaces where no one sees the full picture. Then the final trap snaps shut. Without work, love, or community, the feedback systems that protect mental health disappear. Depression deepens. Anxiety grows. Motivation evaporates. Change feels unreachable. Each loss reinforces the next until withdrawal becomes permanent. And the systems meant to help aren't built for this kind of slow collapse. Mental health care focuses on emergencies, not gradual disengagement. Economic aid assumes temporary hardship, not long-term withdrawal. Social services address visible crises, homelessness, addiction, not silent isolation behind closed doors. So millions of men fall through every gap. And we only notice them when they show up as statistics. And this is where the economic reality connects to everything else, where the full picture finally comes into focus. For generations, men were expected to follow a clear sequence: finish school, secure a steady job, save money, buy a home, marry, and raise a family. Each milestone led naturally to the next. Progress felt earned and predictable. That roadmap no longer exists for most men. Today, even basic jobs demand experience, yet experience is impossible to gain without those same jobs. This catch-22 leaves many stuck indefinitely. At the same time, housing costs have completely outpaced income. In 1970, a typical home cost just over twice a typical annual salary. Now, it costs nearly 6 times as much. Marriage has also become a poor financial bet for many men. Divorce rates remain high, and family courts often award custody and assets in ways that heavily disadvantage men. When you weigh the risks against the potential rewards, the equation simply doesn't add up. The life path that worked for previous generations doesn't just feel more difficult today, it feels unattainable. When that traditional route disappears, men don't automatically discover new ones. Alternative paths have to be visible, structured, and proven. Without them, many men choose the lowest energy response available, disengagement. That's the real tragedy. These men aren't incompetent or unmotivated. They're reacting rationally to broken incentives. When effort no longer produces reward, withdrawal becomes the logical choice. Put these same men in systems where effort reliably pays off, and they flourish, but those systems are increasingly rare. There are places that have figured this out. After reunification, Germany rebuilt its vocational training programs, creating a clear ladder from apprentice to skilled professional. Young men could enter training in their mid-teens and reach middle-class stability by their early 20s. Progress was visible and consistent: new skills, new credentials, higher pay. As a result, male disengagement in Germany is far lower than in similar countries. Switzerland never abandoned this model. Most young people complete vocational training that blends paid work with education. By age 20, many have real experience, financial independence, and a clear future. Social withdrawal among Swiss men is the lowest in the developed world. Singapore takes a different route but reaches a similar outcome. Mandatory national service provides young men with structure, discipline, physical conditioning, and camaraderie. When they enter civilian life, they do so with confidence, skills, and strong social bonds. The system succeeds because it works with male psychology instead of denying it. These examples share key traits. They don't lower expectations. They don't reward mere participation. They don't pretend men and women are motivated in identical ways. They offer structure, measurable progress, and meaningful rewards. They succeed because they align with how male motivation actually operates. So what does this mean on a personal level? If you're a young man feeling tempted to withdraw, recognize what's happening. Your mind is trying to protect you from disappointment by killing ambition altogether. That defense may feel safe, but it quietly destroys your future. Start in one area where cause and effect still work. Physical training is ideal because the feedback is undeniable. Train consistently for a few months. Track improvement. Let your brain relearn that effort leads to results. Then build outward from there. If you're raising sons, understand that you're preparing them for a world that lacks clear roles for men. Protecting them from hardship will not help. Give them challenges. Allow failure. Let them struggle and recover. Teach resilience, not fragility. Confidence comes from overcoming difficulty, not from praise.